Welcome to episode number 2 from Mr. Ron Powell. Anyone besides Sergio Mendes that saw the same things that Sergio saw in you, or just gravitated to you because of your aura and your musicianship and your awareness and ability to absorb?
I would actually assume that everybody that I've worked for saw.
Got that.
Yeah. Or else they wouldn't have asked me to work for them, because everybody that I've worked for asked me. Okay.
Great,
So
great.
even though I put myself into position to be asked, every job I've ever had, they came and asked me if I would join their band. Okay. So I think that probably has a lot to do with attitude. I think that I let people know where my attitude is at, and I'm assuming that my attitude has been correct.
But I've noticed that you have a very eloquent way of expressing yourself in whatever situations that I've seen you in. You have a very eloquent way of getting your point across. And even though we both came from Philadelphia and from gangs and stuff like that in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that, that's somewhere in here, but you were raising your level of awareness globally.
Very true.
And you have a vocabulary. So yeah, I'm just thinking of just recently, so ladies and gentlemen, Ron and I, we work with Diana Ross. So there were a few times on the recent tour, and I'll just say this most recent tour, and that I would come in the back, man, and you reading, was it the Dan Brown book? Was it?
Yeah.
One of it, and you was like, and I come in there and I see, it's like, okay, don't say nothing to this motherfucker because he may fucking knock you the fuck out and shit like that. He has that ability. You know where he's from. He's from, so it's like,
Well, look, one of the things when I was in Philly, I remember going over to a friend's house, and there were in their house they had masks and statues from Africa and Asia. And I remember like asking my friend, what is this stuff? And she said, oh, my father travels a lot, and he just brings these things back. And I remember just that, going, wow, that's so interesting. All of a sudden I became aware there's a world out there. There's more than 52nd Street. Okay.
The Aqua Lounge.
Right.
52nd and Locust.
Yeah. And luckily in my touring career in 77 with Blue Magic and stuff, I started touring, and right away I realized, man, there's a really big world out there. And great thing that I was with Sergio, because he traveled all over the world. So I've been to, I think at my last count, I think I've been to 130 countries. Okay, but I feel like I've really become a citizen of the world, awareness of how to communicate on lots of different levels. So I do feel comfortable communicating on a lot of levels, but I'm very comfortable with my response to a question being, okay.
I've seen that come up a couple of times too.
Yeah. So that in itself says a lot. Okay, now that's my personality, but I also try to do that musically.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Oh,
try to be, yeah,
that you do.
yeah. So I try to relate to music on a grunt level. And if we need to get intellectual about it, okay, let's go there too, and everywhere in between. But I definitely look at that full spectrum of communication in my music.
Global groove ambassador.
I like that. Now I have a question for you about
Okay.
this podcast.
Okay.
The name of the podcast is Groove Don't Lie.
Yes.
I understand the groove, but what does don't lie mean? I've been thinking about that. So I have an idea I'd like to ask you.
Okay. So groove don't lie, meaning that whatever groove it is done by the people, the people who originated it, it's like, okay, this is the real deal. This is the real deal.
Okay.
Now, if I'm going to attempt to play it, yeah, I'll do that, but I know that it may not resonate with the people who originated it or where it comes from. So it's 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 not a put down that but it's about a learning
Yeah.
because for whatever type of music it is, or wherever on the planet, that groove, that doesn't lie. The people who are playing that, they've
Uh,
been living that.
okay.
So it's not a put down on anybody. I can make the joke, you try and sit in, you may get the side eye or something like that. But on the other hand, just to be there, that kind of brings you into, and you're hoping that someone will say, well, let me let me really show you what that, what you're trying
Right,
to
right,
do and
right.
stuff like that.
Now you know better than anybody because you were with the band for so many years. But your line "Groove Don't Lie" made me think of this line: "Just because the record has a groove, don't make it in the groove."
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah, have you ever been blindsided by a blind man?
you know. So I had to. So even when I hear that, when I heard him sing that, and then when I heard you say "Groove Don't Lie," became the same thing. And then I thought to myself, what does that mean? So my definition of your line and his line is we're in a constant search for the real deal. We're in a search for the groove. And there along the way, we'll find things that are a lie. They're not the real groove. But we're in that constant search to find the real groove.
Kind of like what some people may say uh, uh, about spirituality
Okay.
and truth. And it's like, you want to get to the truth of as much as you can. That
I got
that
I got to throw this in here.
Yes.
I was with Fred Dinkins. He's a
Oh, he's great, man.
great drummer. And so I said to him, "What is groove?" And his response was spirit.
Spirit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what you just said.
It is spirit. It's just spirit where your heart is. If your heart and spirit are open to receive that,
Yeah, I would
and
agree.
in your case, to be acknowledged by Sergio Mendes, and he obviously saw your spirit, because that's why he said what he said about how you got the gig.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it shows something about his spirit. And
Yeah.
it's like he recognized you. It's like, oh, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this young man. I mean, he's from Philadelphia, but that doesn't matter. Look at him. Look at him. Just bring him in this situation.
Right, right.
And then he watched you thrive.
He forced me to thrive. Yeah. I got
What
a
a
million
lesson,
stories.
man.
I'm gonna throw this one at you. I had been in his band for a couple of years, and we were doing a show. And prior to me, his most predominant percussionist was Paulinho Costa. A lot of people know, everybody knows Paulinho is a phenomenal recording artist, the best recording percussionist. He's also a phenomenal entertainer. Okay. And he used to do his whole entertainment thing in Sergio's band. Okay. So when Sergio wanted to mold me, Paulinho was one of the people who he wanted me to be like. So I had been in his band for a while, and we were doing a show in Macau, and it was like a really fancy dinner club over there in China, and nobody was like, the band's playing, waiters are all over the place, and people are talking, the lights are up, and nobody's paying attention to the band. Sergio calls me over. He goes, Ron, you either get them or the show is over. And he tells the whole band, let's go. So the whole band is walking off the stage. I'm standing there like, what? How, what? And as the last one walking off is the drummer, Alan Diaz. So I said, Alan, stay with me. And so I just started doing things. I ended up doing like about a 15-minute bunch of stuff. And by the end, everybody's watching. Everybody's paying attention to the stage. Big applause. Band comes back on and the concert goes on. That night was the night that I became an entertainer. That was the night that I realized I can get people. Okay. I used a bunch of different things, but it finally worked. And then over the years, I've honed it in. So I know what to do on stage. But that night was the night that Sergio forced me to become an entertainer and be able to relate to the audience.
A groove entertainer.
Yeah. You know, yep. I mean, and I did it all. It was all with drums, and so, yeah.
Groove entertainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible.
So,
Are there any, do you know if there are any videos of that you have videos?
well, you know what? That was back at the time when videos were kind of just coming out. I would imagine that there probably was something, but I would have to do some serious research to try to find that. I have boxes of videotapes and camcorder tapes that I need to transfer because there's so much stuff from back then that needs to be put on digital so that it doesn't get lost. So that's something I'm going to have to look for. So
that could be, I'll say it, probably what you have is as good, if not better, than what Hudson Music has.
maybe.
Rob Wallace, if you ever see this, hey, I'm just letting you know. If you need some inspiration, you may need some inspiration, Rob Wallace. So guess what? Holla at your boy over here and stuff like that.
Yeah, you and I, we've been doing this for a while.
We've been doing this for a while, man.
Yeah, and and I've realized there's so many things that you and I kind of like take for granted because we've been doing it for so long that a lot of new players and even people who haven't had the experiences that we've had are like just totally unaware of. I was telling a student of mine this morning when I played with you in Diana's band, like with every drummer, I have to take a certain approach. And so with you, one of my approaches is to watch your body. So sometimes you're playing like this, and then sometimes you're playing like, it's just here, and you're stationed, you're solid here, while your hands moving. So I try to adapt. I don't know if you ever watch a video of our show. However you're moving, that's how I move. Okay, so that's one of the ways that I stay with your groove. Okay, because you're putting it here. I want to be with you, but then I also want to think, okay, how can I enhance the groove that Gerry is creating? So I'm constantly watching you to see what it is that you're playing, and then I'm figuring out where do I place what I'm going to play. Also, what am I going to play to enhance what you're doing? And then there's so many variables there that so many guys don't have a clue. You know, they just think, oh, I'm playing congas. There's so much more going on. I've analyzed your stuff. I've analyzed the stuff that I can do, and I'm trying to figure out which two things go together the best.
Well, that's, you know, I'm grateful that you say that. I'm grateful that you acknowledge that. For me, it's supposed to be a conversation. We don't overplay. We don't play over each other.
That's for sure. Right.
We don't do that. Why? Because it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And our conversation on stage, it's our conversation and all these other things are going on, but it's this conversation and the audience is the witness to the conversation.
Right. Now I have another, so I totally agree with that, but I also have another way of looking at it. I look at when I'm playing in Diana's band, when I'm playing that style of music, I look at you or drums and the bass player as the meat and potatoes. And I think of myself as the seasoning. Right, right. I'm sprinkling all this stuff on top of it. So I hear you guys play something, and I'm thinking, oh, it needs a little Latin flavor. Let me throw that in. All right, this song needs a little electronic flavor, hip hop flavor. So I'm gonna throw that in. Okay, so you guys are the meat and potatoes, and so we're all having a conversation, but I'm looking at it as a meal where you're the meat and potatoes and I'm the seasoning.
Hey, do we need to turn the flame up on this? No. Let it slow cook.
Right, right,
Slow cook.
right, right. Exactly. It's like, what does it need to be? Does it need to be a slow cook, or does it need to sizzle?
Yeah, it doesn't need to
Or
sizzle.
does it need
Yeah.
to jump into the flame? And so that's how I feel I add to your groove.
Groove and food.
You know.
Groove and food. Very tasty. Very tasty. Groove is very tasty.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
Yes, yes, we know how to make it that way. Now, I will acknowledge it. Yes, we acknowledge that there are these youngsters out here playing all this stuff, and it's I'm not going to name names. We can name names, but we're not going to do that. But
Right,
I will just say that, it's amazing what technique that some of these young brothers have, and it's incredible. But after a while, it gets tiring to hear that. And for me, it's like, well, are you having a conversation with yourself or who else is involved with your conversation?
right. Okay. So I try to be objective in all types of drumming. And I'm gonna use a word that right off the bat, some of the people who are watching are gonna go, ooh. Okay, church drummers. Okay. I'm actively trying to figure out what church drumming is. Okay. Now, if you ask a lot of people, they're gonna go, or most people are gonna say, uh, yeah, church drummers are just guys who overplay. But I come right back and say, I know a lot of guys who are not church drummers that overplay. And I'm gonna say names. Okay, Danny Seraphine. Okay, when he played with Chicago, even though I love Chicago's music, Chicago Transit Authority. Okay. Danny
Yes.
played
Yeah.
a fill every bar in almost every song. Okay. He overplayed, but he's not a church drummer. Okay, so when I hear people say church drummers just means overplaying, I have to go, no, because I know a lot of people who are not church drummers who overplay. One thing that I'm still in the observation phase of it, but church drumming is a style of drumming that a lot of us don't understand. And try to imagine back in the bebop era, where everybody's playing swing and bop and everything. Suppose somebody came in playing fusion. You would go like, what the hell is that? Okay. And I kind of feel that a lot of us are looking at church drummers and going, what the hell is that? But I think what's happening is a whole new way of playing is developing.
Developing.
Yeah, right in front of our eyes. So it's having mistakes, but it also has good things going on. So I think that that's what's happening with that, and it hasn't been qualified. I don't know if that's hasn't been categorized yet, and it's not fully developed yet. So that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of us don't quite get it. So maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but that's the way I'm looking at a lot of these young cats.
I can appreciate that viewpoint. Yeah, I know people would say, maybe some people would say, oh yeah, Billy Cobham was like the first fusion drummer,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but on the other hand, the way Tony Williams played, it's
Okay.
like I'm just saying.
Right. But also try to remember when those cats were playing, what were the other guys going, what is that? I mean, because like even prior to those two, Max Roach, a lot of guys would look at Max Roach and go, what is that?
So. Okay, so I got to bring this up from last night.
Okay.
I was talking with Craig Haynes,
Okay.
and we started talking about Tony,
Okay.
and he said when he was growing up for like 4 or 5 years, he listened to Roy, he listened to Elvin, he listened to Max Roach, and he listened to Alan Dawson.
Okay.
And for each one of these years, he just studied one of these guys
Okay.
and tried to play like them. And then what came out of that was
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So, and he said, you ever, Craig, he told the story. He says, yeah, man, I'm talking to Tony for like an hour. He had played somewhere in New York. And then someone said, that's Roy Haynes' son. And he says, oh shit. Man, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me, man? Oh man, you're dad. You're dad. I back to what you're saying about, what the quote unquote gospel drummers. They have it's crazy with their.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's developing. They don't quite understand what it is, but I think it's a good thing. It's a new thing developing, and hopefully at some point it's all reined in and can really be categorized as a style. You
I,
know,
ju- I do also hope that there will come, and as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of like Stanley Clark, and he's got what's this young brother? It's Jacob Collier.
okay.
Anyway, Stanley's drummer is. It's like when he starts doing he's playing stuff with the band, but then it's like there should be just smoke.
So sometimes we get out of that, but if we use that as a model for our playing, put the right thing in the right place. I think we'd all be better off, be better served.
We would be
Not
better
only would
served
we be better served, the music would be better served.
because, well, serving the music.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
If you're able to serve the music as you do, then I'm going to use
Okay, now,
I'm going to use this phrase. It's like when you serve the music, your payback is the callback.
yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, now I'm sure that you won't tell your audience this, but I got to tell this story. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We were doing whatever the biggest festival is in Europe with Diana Ross at a Glastonbury Festival.
Yes.
The night before us, Paul McCartney played, and he had 200,000 people. The
Right.
night that we played, there were 250,000 people. Okay,
Yes.
for me, the biggest audience I ever played for. Okay, and the band that went on before Diana Ross was Herbie Hancock.
Yes.
Yes. And I'll forget the brother's name who plays drums, of course, and he's a chops guy. Okay, and so all of us at Diana's band, of course, we love Herbie. He's one of our kings, and so we watched Herbie play. And so we're all standing on the side of the stage, and when they finished their set, they came walking off, and the drummer came by. You and I are standing there, and you went to say hi to the guy, and he kind of snubbed you.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he kind of snubbed you. Okay, and I saw all this happening, and then we went back to the dressing room, and I'm still thinking about it, and I'm like thinking, that cat he must not know. He doesn't know who he is. And then we went out and we did our show. And the whole time I'm still thinking about that. Okay. But now we're doing our show. And then when we finished our show, the realization came to me about your character. Okay. I know that it would have been very easy for you to get up there and go, okay, kid, you don't know who I am? This is who I am. And you could have started pulling out the shit that you invented. You know what I mean? You were there at the beginning of that shit. So you know that shit. You could have done all the stuff he was doing and more, but you didn't.
I did. Yeah.
You played the game. Okay. And that really stood out seriously in my heart. I'm like, Gerry knows what's supposed to happen here. He kept things in context. I know that he wanted to prove a point, but he didn't. He played the gig. So
thank you, man. Thank you. So Ron, we had a little, I'll let the people know we had a little, there was a little technical difficulty. So we were talking on the phone before we got on this podcast. And all I will say from that conversation, that this conversation was all that I could have hoped for, and I hope it was for you. This could be 2 episodes. However, this will not be the last time that you're on the podcast.
Hey, it's an honor for me, and you and I know that we think deeply and sincerely about music and about drumming and about groove. And so I've got a billion questions for you, and I've got a billion answers for you. So anytime you want to have this conversation, I'm here. I'm your boy.
My brother. That was part 2 of my discussion, and a great discussion with Ron Powell. And we really thank him for being such a great guest. Meantime, every week we drop new episodes, so stay tuned.